All right, everyone, we're going to start in like 5 minutes for everyone online. If you want to get a notepad ready and a pen so you can take notes. Just kind of wait for some more people to show up. Okay. All right, everyone, we're going to get started. My name is Erica. I am a realtor with Excellence Realty, as well as agent development leader there as well. And then My City is My Home is a nonprofit that I volunteer with. So we are bringing you this event today. And we like to bring it to you every year because every year, unfortunately, our property value goes up and we want to help y'all save money. So I know that y'all are here today because you want to save money so you can enjoy trips and all the fun things that life brings you, right? But before I get started, I would love to introduce to you a friend of ours, a partner of ours, Mr. Gabriel with New World Title. He's the one who's feeding you today. So we just want to thank him for that, express our gratitude. So I'm just going to pass this off to you.
Thank you. Well, yeah, I'm the one that brings the pizzas or the tacos. But besides that, my name is Gabriel Gonzalez. I'm the escrow consultant for New World Title. So I see some familiar faces. I know some of you have closed with us. We really appreciate your business and working with us, and especially with Rob and company that they have this amazing brokerage to help you all with your processes and everything for real estate. So we do the other side. We do the title where you come and sign and do all the legal work and all the lending and all that part comes to us. So I've been doing this for 24 years, and now partnering up with them is like a great connection for us. And we would like to see you more often, of course, like one at a time, one property at a time to work with you all. But New World Title is a new company in San Antonio. It's been here for a year. It's nationwide, semi-national. So we are 20 years into the business nationwide, but here in San Antonio, we've been doing it for a year. We're growing fast, and we would like to earn your business, of course, through the great brokerage of excellence to work with you all. So if you can give us a chance eventually, we'd like to work with you. And most important thing is the value that we can offer for you, that you have the escrow consultant 24/7 for you. And of course, you have your representatives, which is excellence brokerage for you guys, realty. And then us partnering up with you, you have the perfect combination to work along on your transactions. So I would love to see you more often. I know you have a lot of coming up, which is very important. So I just want to keep it short and sweet. But again, my name is Gabriel Gonzalez, escrow consultant for New World Title. Enjoy your class. Enjoy the pizza, of course, right? So let us know if you need anything. Thank you, guys. Appreciate your time.
And Gabe speaks Spanish as well, so he's bilingual. So both English and Spanish. Yeah. Thank you guys for showing up, guys. My name is Robert Saenz. I'm going to introduce Erica. Erica's going to run through the slideshow. I'm going to jump in more for the repairs. So the repairs is something that I do more. Erica's very good at explaining this, so she's going to jump in and tell you a little bit about the processes, and then we're going to bounce back. And then at the end, we'll open it up for questions, okay? Come on up, Erica.
All right, guys. So let's talk protesting. I just want to tell you a little bit about who we are. My City is My Home. So we are a nonprofit locally here in San Antonio, and we help low to mid-income residents acquire housing at whatever level they are at. But one of the things that we also take pride in is helping residents not only fight their taxes, but also help them with transfer on death deeds, and also create policy. Our founder is a veteran himself, so he creates his name's Rich Acosta, and he creates a lot of policies for veterans. And another one that we're proud to be working on right now is a tax debt relief program specifically aimed for seniors in low-income areas of San Antonio, starting with the south and the west side of San Antonio. We believe that that's a community that's often overlooked and underserved, so we take a lot of pride and heart to serve them and make sure that they don't feel unheard. So that's just a little bit about who we are. I'll share a little bit more about our specific protesting tax services that we offer later, but we want to teach you how to protest your taxes. There's a number of ways that you can do it. So these are just some stats from My City is My Home, how we've been helping homeowners since 2018. I am a product of them. I hire them every year. So one of the first things I want to get into is our exemptions. So in Bexar County, you can file a homestead exemption on your primary residence, but that is not the only exemption that you can file on your primary residence. You can file an over 65 exemption. You can also, if you're a disabled vet, you can also take that exemption. You don't have to take one or the other. You can combine that to keep your taxes low. So that's going to be your first step in saving saving money on your property taxes. So these are some numbers here as far as where you're saving. We do have specifically, if you look at, I don't know if anybody brought their tax bill today, but there are different rates based on, what is it, like county, the city, the school district, and that school district is going to be like the bulk of your taxes. So on that one, you actually have up to $100,000 reduction in tax appraisal value. So it's like capped. So if your house is valued at $300,000, they cannot tax you over $200,000. And then it is at a 20% cap fee overall for all the other fees there. Over 65 exemption actually freezes your taxes. I believe you are a product of it too, right? And so what that does is it freezes it for you until the rest of your life, right?
That's right.
Mm-hmm. And then disabled veterans, depending on your level of disability, you'll also have a range of tax savings there as well. And 100% permanently disabled vets, they actually do not pay any property taxes at all. So, all right. So this is something that's new that I wanted to bring to your attention because it is going to affect everybody. So a common, I guess you could say, complaint from the citizens of San Antonio is having to protest every single year. So in doing so, our county has not raised them very much, but I guess they think that they're losing money. So there are plans that in 2027, there's going to be a significant increase. So what we want to express to you and encourage you to do is to fight every single year as if that's not coming, because if you keep them low now, when that significant increase comes, you're going to feel it, but not as much. So a lot of people think, oh, I'm only saving just a couple this year, maybe a couple $100. So they think maybe it's just not worth it to do it every year. But we want to tell you that this is coming. So be prepared for it by protesting every single year. Another thing that they're going to be doing is they're trying to, I guess you could say, crack down on property owners who maybe perhaps turned their primary residence into a rental, and they did not report that to the county, so they're still getting the homestead exemptions and who knows how many other exemptions. So what they're going to be doing is mailing you a letter in the mail every 5 years to verify that the property you are in is still your homestead exemption. They're not going to call you. They're not going to email you. And I don't know many tenants that are going to tell their landlord, hey, you got some mail, come get it. So if they don't receive that back in a timely manner, that's kind of a red flag for them that that's probably no longer a homestead property. And we don't really know what the letter looks like since it hasn't started yet, but it is something that's coming as well. So these are some updates that are happening within our county. All right, so now we're getting into your value. This may look familiar to you all. I'm sure that's why you are here today. So you will receive this notice of appraised value, and as you can see, it's going to show you last year, what it was, and what they're proposing for the incoming year. Obviously, when you see something like that, that's what, I can't do math that fast, 30,000, 40,000 increase, and that's even with some exemptions. They've got the disabled vet and homestead, but it's still a significant increase. So that would actually be a cause for someone to say, hey, I want to protest. So this is where it starts. So you're going to receive this appraised value. They start sending them out in March every year, and they're giving you 2 months to let them know that you are electing to protest your taxes. So that deadline is typically May 15th. If it falls on a weekend, it's going to be that Friday before. So this is what your notice to protest looks like. If you don't know how to access it, you can get it from the City of San Antonio, Bexar County, or us as your realtor professionals. We have them on hand. We can email them to you, and we can also help you fill it out. So one of the 2 important things you want to remember to check are those area in red. It means that you want to request their evidence packet. So their evidence packet is going to be a list of comparable properties that they used to determine that new value increase. So you want to ask for that, and you want to request an informal hearing. Has anybody ever done an informal hearing? You have? Successfully? Okay. Anissa, didn't you do it? Yeah. Good. So it has some questions about the property that you want to fill out and yourself as well. But again, we can help you fill that out. So that's what the notice of protest looks like. This is actually where you'll email it to. When you email it, you will get a confirmation email, and you want to save that because that is proof that you sent it in. Another way to do it is obviously to mail it, not to the P.O. box, to the actual location, the 411 North Frio Street location. And then we also have contact info if you need to call them, like, hey, I sent it in, did you get it? I haven't got the evidence packet yet. So if you also have the packet there, so kind of highlight it, but if ever you lose it, reach out to us so we can give you this information on where to send it or contact them if you're having trouble. All right, so this steps into wrap. So one of the next steps is how you, I guess, start showing where your value is truly at. And so Rob's gonna help walk you through some tips there.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, guys, so the fun part is, and really the best argument you're gonna have is gonna be your repairs. There's two ways that you could protest is condition and obviously with comps. 1 second. So what you wanna do, guys, while this happens is you're gonna get pictures of your property. As it mentions there, you don't wanna get mention about needed upgrades. That's not the verbiage you wanna use. You wanna base it more on deferred maintenance. So as you guys know, right now with the San Antonio heat and the rain, you start getting rotted wood. Very similar to this. The main thing is making sure that you're not trying to push upgrades in the sense of like, oh, I don't have this or I do have this. They want to know more about deferred maintenance. So let's see. Some of the stuff that they do look at, roofs. Roofs are big, so you want to make sure if you haven't changed your roof, make sure to mention that. Foundation, there you go. If you have foundation issues, if you have cracks in the walls, that's something that you want to document. Even go to the extent of getting a foundation contractor to give you a bid. That's going to be more of a legit thing opposed to just some cracks. You know, if you could take pictures of cracks in different angles to make them look, you know, bigger. But if you get an actual foundation guy out there to tell you, hey, look, it's off, it needs work, that will go a lot further than just the pictures. Another thing that you want to know is that they don't do fences, guys. So don't bother on the fences. Right now, it's something it's everyone's fence with the winds and the crazy weather. It's falling and stuff. That's something that they don't take into account. They feel like it doesn't really give value to the property to, you know, up or down or adjust it. So any pictures that you do provide to them, please be prepared to leave them copies. So they will have the copies. So make sure you either take two or you know, take one, but make sure you still have them saved. If it's something that you don't plan to fix in the near future, obviously you want to hold on to it because you could use it again for the next year. Some repairs are just out of reach and can't get done. It is what it is, and they got to understand that. But they don't know unless you're telling them. They did start using a little bit of technology. So we had done a protest where we had told them the owner couldn't remember when he had changed the roof. So during the informal meeting, the appraiser quickly pulled up Google Maps and pointed out that he had a new roof, and you know, the newest roof in the neighborhood where all the other ones were not completed. So they could now get a little bit more technical, and that is it used to be a little bit more old school back in the day, but with technology now they do not only use Google Maps, but they're also doing site visits. They're doing site visits to the big time investors that are doing it constantly and knocking their appraisals down. They will do site visits. They don't have a big staff, so they're not going to be able to go to everyone's houses. So they do rely a lot on these photos. The photos, you want to get obviously a little bit better than as far as quality wise. You want to make sure they outline exactly the repair. Don't get something that's super blurry because then they won't be able to take it into consideration. If your property is older, one of the things that really helps you is if you make it known that it's more of a rental grade. So if you have Formica, you know, linoleum flooring, stuff of that sort, that's really going to help you because during the 21, 22 years when the sales were super high, in order to get those high valuations, investors and people doing flips and rehabs were fixing up those homes. So a lot of those comps are coming with granite. They're coming with backsplash. So if you don't have that, that's something good to point out because that'll go a long ways. And again, one of the questions that they had asked on when you guys filled out the RSVP was like, how do you devalue your house? And it's you shouldn't have that mentality. It should be almost like you're just telling them what you have, and you haven't got into some stuff, because some stuff, the cost of labor and materials has gone up, and some stuff just gets put back. I know one of the big things is the siding. We had a lot of calls with the siding that they need, very similar to this. And as long as it's not leaking in the inside, our homeowners aren't replacing it. It is what it is. And if they ever go to sell it, then they'll fix it. But for the meantime, our argument is like they shouldn't be taxed like a brand new home that's sold down the street for higher value with replaced siding or updated siding. What else? For Mica linoleum, rental grade is a very big word that I use often at these informals, because you got to understand that landlords typically don't go over improve their property. The rents are the rents for the areas, and they're going to get the rent regardless. But the appraiser will more relate to you guys if you could kind of put it that perspective, like, hey, it's more in the rental grade condition. It's not really an upgraded. We haven't fixed it up to get ready to go to sell. Contractors will save you a lot of time when you go there. So if you have a contractor that could give you pricing, one thing I will tell you guys, these appraisers are local. They know prices. Don't go in there and say it's going to be $60,000 for a roof, guys, because they're not going to fall for it. Be reasonable, be realistic, and they'll give you those credits. And that, like I said, goes a long ways. And in my opinion, it's worth more than the pictures. Getting actual contractors, because this is a licensed professional telling you, so it's very hard for them to argue with you and go back and forth. Where here they could go back and say, well, give you different perspectives of what they think of the picture. So when you put it in writing by a licensed professional, it'll totally help you save you on that. Now, don't expect a dollar for dollar deduction. What they're going to use that receipt or that invoice for is going to be for comp purposes. So when they're checking the comps, they're going to be like, okay, Mr. Smith here doesn't have this. Now we could compare it to a property that also doesn't have replaced siding or replaced roof, and that's how that works. So the value of the property, of the price that the contractor gives you, doesn't really matter, guys, but it does hurt you when you try to go in there with super inflated prices, because then the appraiser thinks like, man, this guy didn't even get a contractor out there. He just had someone write him a bid or send it over to him. So getting realistic prices does help you a lot. So make sure and keep that in mind. Again, stick to the forget about the upgrades. A lot of if you do have a new construction home, it's tough. It's a lot harder. I think one of the main things is going to be going to come down to the deferred maintenance, the little stuff. So ACs being, having issues. If you have any maintenance where you have to call the builder, or you have to call someone to come out and fix it, you could show proof of that, saying, hey, it is a newer AC, but I've had AC guys out here already 3-4 times since I bought it. Stuff like that they do take into account. And again, what's going to come down to is it's not going to give you a dollar-to-dollar value. It's just going to it's going to put you in a different set of comps that they're going to use to figure out how much your house is actually worth. Between this, so one thing just to kind of like let you know how this whole process works. So between when you sent that email with all the stuff, it typically takes like 2 to 3 weeks for them to get back to you. They do send you a confirmation email telling you like, hey, we did get your notice. It is in process. A lot of clients get very impatient and want an answer right away, and it's a very slow game for them. You got to imagine there's thousands of people protesting their taxes, and it's a system that that they have. So early March, right before spring break, they'll send out the appraisals. That's what they tell you. Hey, this is what we think your house is worth. And then you have till May 15th to do the deadline. And Erica will go over a little bit more about the deadlines here in a little bit. But I just want to kind of put in perspective the time that you have. So from March when you get it, you have till May to file, right? Well, then they start doing informals, start June and July, sometimes lead into August, depending on their workload. And if you don't come to an agreement at the informal, then you go to the formal. So then you're sitting there, say August, September. That's cutting it close, guys, because your tax bill goes out in November. So it's something that you guys just got to be patient with and follow up with them, reply to them in a timely manner, because when they get to your file, they want to work your file. In your packet, when you get your notice in the mail, that will give you a date. Ever since COVID, they started getting more flexible. They'll do Zoom and they'll do different methods. But for the most part, going in person has always been something that I felt is helpful, because they get to see you're an actual person. The downside to that sometimes is emotions get the best of you, and you get upset, and they see that, and that's not going to get you an agreement, and it's going to push you to the formal one, which again we'll go a little bit more. But the formal is more, it's harder. It's something that you don't want to get to. So if you could get it done, get your receipts, get your pictures, get everything in, and try to settle it in the informal, that goes a long way. One tip before I turn it over to Erica is once you get your pictures, you get all that, get a price in mind. Talk to your realtor, talk to them and say, hey, what is my house actually worth in this condition? Because you got to know when you're going there, because you got to understand these guys that you're dealing with is an appraiser. You guys are just regular homeowners. So get with a realtor, someone that's in your corner that could tell you, hey, this is what a house in your condition is going to be worth. Then go down a little bit lower off that price, right? And write it down so when you go to your formal, you have a number to give them. So you have a starting point. A lot of the times when you show up, they might take that starting number and run with it. And that's a number that you obviously want to start low. So if they say, hey, your house is worth at 200,000, after repairs and all that, you feel your house and your realtor advised you, your house is about 160, 150, write down 150, 160, 155, or have a range. And when you show up there, let them know, hey, if I could get in this range, we could get out of here. And sometimes they'll take it. Other times they'll say, well, show me why you want to be in that range. And that's where you bust out your contractor stuff. But you already have that appraiser on a mindset on a price. So he's already thinking, when he's looking at your stuff, he's already thinking how he could get you to that price. If you just show up and start throwing them papers and pictures and all this stuff, it's going to be a long, informal meeting, which only leads to a formal one, which is more intense because you're dealing with 3 to 4 appraisers, where here you're just sitting with one lady or a guy that's more than likely to cut your break and get you a fair value on your house. So keep that in mind, guys. Like I said, they're people too. Just have your facts ready to go. So between the time that you get your notice to the time that you get but from the time that you send it off to tell them, from that time to the time that they give you your actual date, that's when you're getting your pictures, you're getting your contractor bids and all that. So you have time. No need to go scramble and just go stress out about it. But yeah, we'll keep the Q&A for after. But I know a lot of people are going to have questions about the repairs, and if we can't answer them up here after the meeting too, if you guys don't want to ask them in person for whatever reason, I'll be on the side. If you guys want to come up to me, I'll tell you from past experiences what works, or if you want to run scenarios by me, I'm more than happy to help. So, Erica.
Thank you. Okay. We kind of went through that. I know you have this in your packet. But Rob kind of went over the important dates and what to expect, but these are just snapshots of the evidence packet that you received. And these are some things that you want to use to your advantage to look out for. Obviously, to some of those, the comps that you receive, you want to see like, did they have permits? What kind of work was done? What was the improvement value? Things of that nature. And these are some good, I guess you could say like markers to determine what your condition is, overall condition. So I know you heard Rob talk a lot about deferred maintenance and basically some cosmetic stuff. So that's going to be average. When you start looking at some of the structural defects or flaws, that's getting into the fair and poor section. So you don't want to be like, oh, mine's super poor. It's like valued so low, like, come on, obviously that's being exaggerated on your value, and they're not going to work with you there. So this is just like a comp sales grid. Y'all can take some time to kind of look at that. It's just an example. And then they'll have out a map also locating how close those comps were to your property. This is just I guess like a little tip for some people, not everybody, but this is something that you may be able to use to your advantage. One example we can give is like if your property backs up to a really busy street and they're comparing your property to a property that has like a nice green belt behind it, or maybe your property backs up to a big commercial building, so you can definitely ask for an adjustment based on those facts and kind of call them out on that. Okay, so as Rob said, you're ready when you have your photos, your contractor estimates, and a reasonable value goal. We will help you get that value. Like he said, we'll run a CMA, see what the market has been doing in your area since the last year. That way you could have, you want to have a range in mind, but also kind of make note of that value amount that you're willing to take, and that's what you want to come forward. Go low to start off. They'll probably meet you there, but you don't want to go too low. So like an example here, maybe like 140 to 160 is your range, and you'll be good with 150. So if you tell them 150, more than likely they'll be like, okay, it's 150. And that's just an example. I know we don't really have houses at that price anymore, but. So again, like he was saying, in the informal, it's you and one tax appraiser. And so that's when you want to have all the information I just went over ready. And most people will stop here, but if you disagree, you can go into the formal. And like Rob was saying, it gets a little bit harder. And you can disagree at the formal too, but you probably don't want to, because then you're going to court. And if you go to court and you lose, you have to pay the court fees. So now you're out money. You don't save on your tax value, and you're just like, I should have just taken it to begin with, right? So don't be that person. And you get to protest them every year. So this is just kind of a recap of what you want to do. You turn in your notice by May 15th. What day does May 15th fall on this year? A Thursday. Okay, so it's during the week this year. Make sure you have your 10 photos, your contractor estimates, your market value, and then you'll go to the hearing, and then you repeat it every year. Like we say, every single year. So this brings me into My City is My Home. Like I said earlier, I am one of their clients. We actually partner with a law firm of an attorney, Ryan Cohen, with Protest Tax. That is his company. So everything that we're advising you to do, he actually does it for us. He sends you a little condition form. We fill it out, send it to him, and we do have different price points depending on household income. There is a free option, obviously, that's for low to mid-income households, and that's household income, I believe, of like $48,000 or less. So the other option is DIY, or if you pay him to do it. I myself, the last 2 years, he's saved me $23,000 in tax value, and I only had to pay him $140, and I did not have to go to an informal or a formal. I got to go about my day like I do. I just gave him my photos, and I gave him that condition form he had me fill out, and it just makes my life a lot easier. So if you're like that, where you just have a busy lifestyle, you have time to be going to court, I recommend, if you want to tap into a service like we offer. So. And as you can see, we can help in 55 Texas counties. Here, 45,000. I thought it was 48. So we actually did a price reduction on what we do charge you. You will not pay over $150, but our new price is 25 cents on the dollar of your estimated tax savings, not your tax value savings. It's how much tax savings you're paying throughout the year. So if he saves you, again, I can't do math that fast, but like $500, then you do the math on that. And a portion of the proceeds do go to our nonprofit, My City is My Home. That's where you can follow us if anybody wants to follow us and see what else we do for the community that we love so much. And that's pretty much it. So now, questions? You want to go over the questions? Some of that people asked? Okay.
So real quick, guys, I just want to kind of go backwards and kind of explain to you guys, does everybody understand how they calculate your tax value? No? Okay, so pretty much it's based off every area has a different tax rate. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna multiply your tax rate, which is on, can you go back on that slide where it shows your thing? The tax bill? So you're gonna multiply your tax rate by your appraisal, and that's what's gonna determine how much annually you're paying in taxes. Yeah, do they have the tax rate on there? It's on BCAD. So if you go to BCAD, to Bexar County Appraisal District, it'll show you what your area tax rate is. It ranges anywhere between 2.2 to 2.8. So 2.8%, you multiply it times whatever they're saying your house is, and that's what populates your tax bill, right? So as most people have mortgages, your taxes get paid through your escrow. So therefore, your tax bill of $6,000 gets divided by 12, and that's how every month they're pulling that amount to pay your taxes at the end of the year. So if you put it in perspective as far as like how much you're saving on your mortgage, because your payment will go up and down, obviously if your taxes go up, it could easily go up anywhere between $50 to I've seen like $400 or $500 a month. That's a lot. I mean, that's a huge big chunk that unexpectedly you'll get it just because you didn't protest your taxes. So you always want to make sure, for one, that you have your homestead one. That's kind of like your for sure one, but you always want to keep an eye on the value. You always want to stay in touch with your realtor to know to kind of know the value of the property, because sometimes, unfortunately, prices do go up, and it is what it is. There's areas I've had clients that within a year, 150,000 an increase, and then they're all freaking out. They call me, and then I go look, and sure enough, it's 150 to 200,000 an increase. So it does happen. Yeah, yeah, it's a good thing, and it's obviously if you're not selling, that doesn't convenient you. But when you go to sell, you'll reap the benefits of that equity. So it's a give and take, and we do get it. I mean, the city's doing a lot right now for improving. So to have the mentality that, oh, we want to take away from the city, that's not it. We just want to be tax fair on our property. You know what I'm saying? Because you could get into bigger battles that the city is not using the tax money. That's not what we're about. That's not our spectrum. Our spectrum is telling you what your house is actually worth, because a lot of people don't even know what their property is worth. So if we could tell you how much your property is worth, it could help you in your tax saving. Then it trickles down into you saving money or monthly mortgage, and it goes towards the whole thing where we're doing is helping you build generational wealth. So knowing how. The first step is knowing how you get that tax bill, and of course, it's by your tax rate multiplied times the appraised amount. So if you go to bcad.org, it's public information. Just type in your address, go down there. About midway through the page, you'll see your tax rate. Again, it's between 2.2 to 2.8. I've seen most recently, but we'll go ahead and open it up for questions, guys. Erica will stand up here. Depending on the question, one of us will answer. We'll pass it back and forth, and we'll go from there. Yes, sir.
So I saw that you have homestead. What about investment properties, and what if they're bought in the entity?
So you could only have a homestead on your primary residence, unfortunately. So you wouldn't be able to do it on an investment property. So what Erica was talking about earlier about that they're going to start checking. They're going to start, because a lot of people, what they do, I mean, us personally, we got our starter home, and then when we went to our move-up home, we rented the other one. And we forgot to do it, and it actually hurt us because the move-up home should get the homestead exemption because you save more on that one. But people just forget. They forget, and they go to another property and they leave it on that one when they're renting it, and that's what the city's trying to avoid, is to making sure that the homestead exemption is only for your homestead. But to take it a little bit further, then it's not only tax savings. So in the state of Texas, and you guys could research this, but in the state of Texas, by having this homestead exemption, it protects you in many ways with people with high values and assets. If you were to get in a car accident or something like that, and you're at fault, but they can't take your homestead, no matter what. If you're at fault, whatever, that's the one property they can't. No lawyer could take it away. Where your investment property, that could happen, and I've heard about that, and that's very unfortunate. So you want to make sure you always have your homestead, not only on your primary residence, but obviously your most valuable property. So that's a great question, though.
It's not homestead. We don't want that. Do you guys still, or the
Yeah.
investment property still go? Like,
Yeah. So
there's a couple that we just kept rental grade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the rentals are even a better one. So when I started this is how I kind of got into it. I had a client that was doing it. He owns about 40, 50 properties. And he said, hey, Rob, can you do it? I was like, yeah, I'll go down and fight for you. And first it was like, hey, this is fun. This is cool. And then it became like, hey, this is actually interesting how it protects the investors a lot. Because if you start putting in a mindset where this property is an actual asset, if your taxes go down, your profit goes up, and it just kind of makes sense. So then you start getting more into knowing the value of repairs. So what is changing the roof cost? What does this cost? And you start deducting it. And that's how I got into it. And that's honestly why we're here. Erica, when she came on board, she brought this program. And I think it's awesome that they teach homeowners and they help you. $150 is not bad at all. I charge our investors a lot more than that, put it that way. But I save them a lot more because I know their properties. We're in them all the time. We know their conditions. So it's easy for me to go to an appraiser and say, hey, look, this property has this, knock off this. But investors should be doing this all day. This is a big play for your annual profits going up for sure. Yes, sir.
Talking about repairs, AC, I have mine checked every 6 months. The last time they said you have a bad coil, and it's going to cost you about $900. So they gave me that in writing.
Yep.
Can that be used?
Yep. And the coil, so the coil itself is giving that appraiser the mindset that that's an older AC unit that's already on its way out. So again, if there's another property down the road that's sold at top value, they advertise it as brand new AC, well then that all automatically shouldn't be a comp, or it should have an adjustment based off your findings, off your yeah. Good question though.
A client that asked, if remodeling is done or any updates to the home, will that be a significant increase in taxes?
So they're getting more savvy on this. They even have access now to permits. So if you get a deck done, the appraiser has access. He'll go to the system and pull up there that you pulled a permit to build a, I don't know, 30 by 30 deck. So they do have access to that. If you don't, if you didn't do it through permits, then don't take a picture of it and don't mention it. It won't help you. So let me get some water.
Yes.
Next question goes to you.
Okay. Anybody else have questions? Yes.
This landscape or trees or anything like that one.
Like curb appeal. What do you think? Xeriscape, probably, because you're saving
Yep.
water. Yeah.
So on that, it's going to go back to like your argument. So if your property doesn't have landscaping, what you want to do is you want to get with your realtor to pull up comps, the one that they send you in the evidence package, to see if on the sold remarks on the MLS when they sold that property, if it's bragging about the landscaping. You know what I'm saying? So you get your evidence packet. It says, hey, Leah, we compared your house to 123 Main Street, right? Call your realtor up. Hey, realtor, can you send me the MLS listing for 123 Main Street? I want to see it, whatever. And on that MLS sheet, it clearly states lavish landscaping and all that stuff. Then you could take it to your appraiser at that informal and say, hey, you know, this comp that you put in your evidence package, it shouldn't be used, or make an adjustment because my house, look at the landscaping on mine. So good question though.
With the wind damage that happened, the storm last month, in March, what would a homeowner need to do to help use that in their evidence package?
The insurance claim. The insurance is big, and the insurance actually details a lot of it because they take pictures, but it also tells you the dimensions and how much was actually damaged. So the insurance is big. Yeah, that goes, yeah, it helps you a lot.
And if they ask you, did you repair the roof, and you say yes, would that hurt you?
Well, it depends when you repaired it. Because if, say, for example, the damage was in 2024 and you stayed with the damage all 2024, you fixed it in 2025, but these taxes are for 2024. So now in 2025, they're going to tax you for it. Obviously, you can't use it in your argument. But before, if the repair wasn't done, so it's almost like new construction. Like if you buy a house and it's not fully built that whole year, they can't tax you on a full built house if the house wasn't built fully. So, yeah. Yes, sir.
I have a standing shower that the pan busted
Yeah.
and was leaking, so I ripped it out, and it's basically just a big empty area
Yeah.
right now. Could I use that?
Deferred maintenance, yeah.
Okay, they won't see that as an upgrade? Like,
No.
because I ripped out the tile and everything.
Yeah.
It's like a big
Yep,
drywall.
deferred maintenance, for sure. Yeah, that's a good one. And especially with bathrooms being one of the biggest value adds to the houses. So, yes, sir.
Yeah, Robert, I've been a homeowner for a few years and I haven't filed for a homestead exemption. Will the homestead exemption only operate from the point that I filed going forward, or does it work back at any point in time?
That's a good question
That's
too.
yeah.
So when you file, you can actually get up to 2 years prior. And it'll start from, so you get a credit. You get a credit. Good question.
So I did, this past year, I did apply for my homestead. I had been in my house for 2 years. But I don't think when they applied it, I don't know if I got any back credit. How do I go about trying to reclaim some of that?
I guess
So
when-
that email to CS. This email is a good email. CS stands for customer service. It's a good one to send that to them. I would wait though until after tax protesting season because it's right now bombarded with all these protests. A good time to do it, I would say, would be like January, February is a good time. The county seems to be more responsive during this time. But if you submit something in May, yeah, you're not going to get a response on that. They're really heavily focused on the protesting. So
What about in Atascosa County?
same. It's so that's another thing to know, guys. The tax deadlines and the stuff is for Texas. So if you're in Corpus, your deadline's going to be, so it's very, they keep it all kind of symmetrical so that it's easier for people. Because at some point there was a thing where you're like, hey, you're not notifying the public properly of protesting your taxes. You're kind of hiding it and making it harder for them. So they're going out of their ways to make it easier for people to get more information. Their website has a ton of information. Back in the day, it had zero, and now they've done a really good job of making people aware. Because I mean, sometimes it is, it's a computer doing the analysis and pulling it up, and they do make mistakes, but it's up to us to catch them. Great question, though.
I have a question.
Oh.
You mentioned roofs. How many years, about if it's been years since you've repaired or replaced it, about how old should a roof be by the time you're considering it deferred maintenance?
So that's another thing. It goes back to the whole thing, because you're not a roofer. I mean, you could go to a roofer and ask them that question, but the way I use all that stuff is by using their evidence package against them, because this is property. The packet is pretty lengthy. They're going to tell you everything about it. Very similar to right here. So it'll give you even like a small little picture, and it'll give you breakdown. It gives you good information. It gives you square footage. It gives you everything. But that's what they're telling you. That's how they determine your value. So if you could go against these comps and figure out anything, so if one of these says new roof and yours doesn't, that's automatically a plus. You know what I'm saying? And it all goes back to you having your range, because once you start getting all these little checks, like, oh yeah, you're right on that, you're right on this, your range starts looking a lot better at that point to them. So you really don't want to be like the one that the know-it-all, like, oh well, I think the roof is worth this. Like, don't do that. Just pull it. Put this against them. Like, hey, this is the property you're using. This one's saying it has new roof. Mine doesn't. I mean, it's very simple. You can't compare. And then you have your pictures, and then you have your contractor also telling you it's an older roof. So use that definitely to your advantage. That evidence package is big, because I just think that it's a fair shot, them telling you how they're determining your value. So it's up to you to understand it. And if it's a little bit too complex, get with your realtor. This is very similar to what realtors do all the time with CMAs and appraisals. They'll be able to read this to you and tell you exactly what it means and how they're using it. So good question. Was that from the?
That was just me taking notes.
Another one.
Question, what are things not to do?
And I mean, that's an open-ended. I mean, at the informal, don't show up late, for sure. Don't show up late. Keep your emotions, be friendly. That's the biggest one. But at the formal is not talking out of place. So the formal is with the 3 appraisers, and if you talk out of place, they almost just shut you off. And no offense to the people on the formal, but these guys pretty much have nothing else to do but sit down there, and they're usually in the plus ages of 70, 80 years old, and they're just very, very hard to work with as far as appraisal values. And it's once they're stuck on their ways, you're not going to get them out of it. And it's something that I learned quickly, because they shut me down, and it's almost like there's nothing you could do. And there's police escorts standing right outside. So if you get rowdy, they'll carry you out. They're quick to call them. With everything that I could say is, like, don't try to get to the formal. Settle it in the informal, in a peaceful manner, in a fair way. If you go prepared, you shouldn't. These guys want to help you too, guys. It's not like they're against you, but you just have to know what you're looking for. Knowing your evidence packages, getting your pictures, getting your estimates. It's easy. If it is a little bit too much for you guys, if you don't feel like you could make it down there or commit to an appointment that they give you, then obviously contact My City, My Home. $150, depending on how much you're saving. If you're saving, I don't know, $1,000 on taxes and they charge you $150, I mean, I would do it, opposed to not doing it at all and you losing. So, but that's a great question. I think the main thing is just understanding that it is a complex process, but it's still people behind there making the decision on the value. So, yes, sir.
So if we do go with your services, do we just need to provide photos, or do we have to do the photos and the estimates?
That's a great question for Erica. So Erica's actually an actual client of theirs. She uses them, so she'll be able to better answer that.
So I was actually going to invite y'all to, if any of y'all do want to take advantage of the services, I'll give you the QR code to scan to sign up. And then Ryan, our attorney that we partner with, will email you and say, hey, we got your information. Here's the condition form. It's one sheet. You fill it out, mention kind of the things that Rob was talking about, the deferred maintenance, take the photos, send them to him, and he takes over from there. And he'll communicate with you along the way. This is where we're at. I went to the informal. Hey, by the way, I mean, I think I get my email all the time in October, and he's like, I saved you this much money. And I'm like, yeah, here's my money. Here's my 140 whatever dollars. So, so yeah, I can send it to you if you want to take advantage. I'll send. Does anybody else want to take advantage of that today? Okay. All right. Nice. Any more questions? Do we have any? Yes.
So I don't know what this is called. I'm gonna say it's a utility pole, but it's not. But it has all the wire things.
Yep.
I think we call it the Texas Christmas trees.
Yeah. Yeah.
The power line, there you go, yeah.
Oh, the power lines,
And
yeah.
then it has, and in our backyard, we have a big green box.
Yeah.
We try to plant things in the area to cover all that up, but everything dies.
Yeah.
Is that something that we could use too, or?
So the utility thing for like the transformer, that really doesn't. I've tried it when it's in the front of the house, like dead center, that, and they won't budge on that. The power lines, yes, that's something that, and just because of the location, it almost goes back to that the slide, the economic. Yeah, that's exactly what that falls under. And it's very simple because I mean the value of people are getting those higher values when they're selling is because of that, because they back up to a green belt, they have this, but then when you add in something like this, like why aren't they taking off the backside of it? So definitely for sure, just take pictures of it. I've had people even talk about like having statements from people, like from neighbors, like, hey, this is an eyesore, this is stuff, and that's totally something that I will take to the informal for sure. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
If your property goes up to a green belt, is it wise to let them know? Or
So that's a great question. So let me tell you the first thing that the appraiser does at the informal when you sit down, he's gonna pull up two screens on his computer. The one on the right is gonna be Google Maps, Google View, and the one on the left is Zillow. And this is, I hate Zillow, but this is not a plug for Zillow. But they pull up, that's where they get their information. Now, if it gets too complex, then they'll open more windows, but the next window will be the permits, the cities that go check if you pull permits. But those first two windows will get you through something quick, so you don't even have to waste your time telling you, because they're gonna pull it up and say, oh, you live right here. Oh, let me see what Zillow, and it's just So, yes.
I had one in. I hope it doesn't go too far off with her. The green box that's in the back. Have you ever heard of someone making the argument that because she had mentioned things aren't growing, that it's like a health concern with like the electric?
Yeah.
EMS or...
Yeah, but it's funny that not really that. It's more the power lines. I had clients always tell me that they had that there were studies or whatever cases that they felt that people that live close to that. Obviously, it's not. It's an opinion, but there's people that use that argument, that it could be a health, but that really doesn't help your case, because they're looking more at like factual stuff that's going to help the property value, and that's more of an opinion, and it goes way to the right, So.
Digital meters.
Yeah.
EMPs
and. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
What if I have, what if I'm on acreage? Does that matter, or does that change things, or is there any?
No, your evidence packets, it tells you your lot size. So they're gonna send you properties with similar lot sizes, and if they can't find any, they'll do an adjustment to it. So if you're on an acre and this one's at 0.7, they'll do the like 20,000, whatever the value of the acre is, adjustment to it. So, yeah. Questions? Any more online questions? Yeah.
What does the homeowner do if they don't receive their notice of appraisal value?
That's actually a great, so that CS at BCAD is your email. You'll send it to them, say, hey, I didn't get my value. And they'll get it to you either by digitally, or you could go on to bcad.org. If you go to bcad.org, it'll be up on the top right. You could create an account, and you could actually do it online, get it like an online version. Yep, you could do it online too. And that just recently started, like maybe like 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, we used to have to go into the actual office and drop it off, and that May 15th day was freaking insane because everybody was running in, dropping it off, and they would timestamp it. There was people taking pictures of them dropping in the box and all this crazy stuff. But now, just because they couldn't say that you didn't meet the deadline, but now with email and online, everything's timestamped, so it's a lot easier. But yes, sir.
Yeah, one question for you, Rob. Say I'm purchasing a home and the sales price is higher than the current assessed value, I guess the first question is, will my taxes be affected by that? And should I expect my tax assessment value to be as high as that purchase price?
And that's a great question. So that's a big misconception a lot of people have, that if they fight their taxes, it's going to go down, it's going to devalue the house. The appraised value that they use here is solely just for taxing purposes, so it has nothing to do with your resale. It used to be back in before 2021, before the huge spike, it used to be if you were 10 to 15% below, that's how people would determine their values. They would be like, oh, BCAT has it at 100, my house is actually worth closer to 115, 120. But now those numbers are all scattered because of the high sales that came. So no, there's some that are going to be way off. This year we're seeing a lot that are upside down, which is, and if you go back to 2008, 2009, that was a scary thing because California, all those states were upside down in that sense of where their values were under their mortgage. So we're seeing that some on the taxes, and those are going to be easy protests because those you could go in and easily do them. But again, you guys need to understand that when they pull these numbers, it's a computer system that does it at a large scale. So it does make mistakes. It does sometimes miss a few numbers. So it's up to us to catch it. Sometimes they are wrong. Most of the times they're pretty close, but it's still something that the advantage that we have is that the condition, they don't have access to your house or the inside of your house. So they don't know what's, condition it is. And that's where you could really win that battle as far as getting them down. Any other questions?
Does an in-ground pool affect the value?
As long as it's the evidence thing, but you could use it to. So if your in-ground pool needs work, and the house that they put on here has a brand new pool, that's obviously something that you would get a pool contractor and say, hey, how much is it to fix this? Pool equipment. If your motor's going out, and that's definitely something to.
It is part of the value.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like I said, the only thing that where they kind of stop is going to be at the fences. The fences is kind of something that they don't take into consideration. And it's crazy because I don't know if you guys have gotten bids to replace or fix a fence. It's freaking expensive, and that should be something that But for them, they don't see it that it's an actual improvement of the property. And some of it goes to also like half of the fence line is owned by half and half, so that could be another reason they don't consider it. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? There you go.
Where can I find a full list of all the zip codes that my city, my home services?
Oh, a full list of all zip codes? That's an excellent question. Like services, like to help with any need, like any housing needs? Oh, for property taxes? Well, we help in over 55 counties. So it's more county specific. So it's, we can talk with Ryan and ask him, but it's going to be majority of Texas he can find. So yes, definitely our county, surrounding counties and beyond. Do you have one in mind?
Mason.
I'm pretty sure, which ways, how far?
Towards Junction?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we can take care of that. Yes. You gonna sign up? Okay. All right.
Anything else? Any questions?
Okay, well, if
Cool.
no questions,
Well, yeah, no,
do you
we'll
want to
stick around.
disperse? And
We'll stick around. There's still more pizza, guys. Help yourself. I think we have this place till about 8, so we still got another 30, 40 minutes. We'll slowly start packing out. But if you guys have any questions you want to ask us directly, maybe situation scenarios, we'll be here. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone on
Thank
my team.
if you want to come up, I'll get you registered for the service too, for anybody that wants to take advantage.